Hey everybody, this is a video of the Sonnax remanufactured valve body for a 2003 6-liter Power Stroke f350 with the automatic transmission, 5R110W valve transmission. So this is what the remanufactured valve body looks like from Sonnax, and it has this pink stuff that's wrapped around it. It was in a bag and wrapped in foam, and they give you this little card here, I guess, to show how to return the core. So this is pretty much what you get, and it just a notice to tell you that there's only one hole for pressure switches because pressure switches were never used from the computer, so I won't have to worry about that. And then also I went to the local Ford dealer and picked up a new gasket to go between the valve body and the transmission. So I've got that, and then also I've got some fluid just in case. Well, there's no just in case. I mean, I gotta reuse the old fluid, so I got some fluid here. So basically this is pretty much it. The truck is having a little bit of an issue with some codes, and it acts as if it has low pressure, where it's engaging the torque converter in reverse and almost stalling out the engine, as if it's having an issue with low pressure that's causing that kind of thing to happen in reverse and in drive. So I'm not sure if it's going to need a new transmission or not, but I figure I'll try this. Once I put it in, if it doesn't work, I'll just start looking at another transmission, but I figure I should at least try this first. So this is what it looks like, or I should say this is what you'll receive. Here's the manual part. The rest of these are just solenoids that the computer controls to go into the different gears, but this is the manual part, which I think mine is worn out on my old valve body. So anyway, I'm going to show you what it looks like to take it apart and put the new one in. So we'll see what happens. Alright, so I've got the transmission pan off. I'm still letting it drain a little bit. So this is what the transmission pan looks like after I got finished cleaning it. The little magnet thing that was here had a little bit of dirt on it, but it wasn't really too bad. So this is what the pan looks like. They say that the gasket can be reused, so I think it's pretty good, cleaned up now. So it's just a matter of starting on the valve body. Also, it's 10 millimeter. There's 10 millimeter. I think they got 10 millimeter bolts. So and there's a lot of them. So you might want to use some power tools on that to at least get them off. So now that the pan is out of the way, I'm going to start by removing this screen or this filter right here. And there's like an O-ring or something in here. So I'm going to pull that out. The other side and let that drain. And then there's a connector right here. This is for the shifter. That button behind it. I have to push that and pull it out. And then from there, just start loosening up these bolts. Those bolts are apparently 8 millimeters. 8 millimeter bolts. I'm just going to loosen them up first before I take all of them out. see any back there? Oh, it's a bigger one. Okay, so now that all of my bolts are out, I'm going to attempt to remove this right here. Looks like we got an extra bolt right there. And now it's starting to drain a lot more. Looks like there's a lot of fluid behind here. I'm gonna let that drain for a minute. Take it completely off. Okay, so the old valve body has been removed. There's the new one back there. I'm still letting it drain. There's a lot of fluid still in it. It looks like it might have had some work done here because it looks like it might have, the manual valve might be a little bigger than the other one. It looks like there's a lot of fluid still there. So now what I've got to do is move the wiring harness on this valve body to the other valve body before installing it. Alright, so the old valve body is here. The reman valve body is here. So now what I will be doing is starting to take the connectors off and move the wiring harness over to the other valve body. So at this point, that's what I'll start doing. You know, remove the screws and get the everything moved on over, and then we'll see what happens. One thing I also want to point out is on the bottom of this, or this part here going into the transmission, is this actual piece here, which is what's putting your electronics into the valve body and then coming out the other side outside of the transmission. So there's like a bolt that went here, so I unbolted that so that I could take the whole valve body out at one time. So now I have to take this piece of loose so that I can twist this out to get the rest of this harness out. So I'll do that now. So I have to lift the little tab up right here. And once I lift the little tab up, I can rotate it. Let's see if I can get under there enough. I almost got it. There we go. So now I can pull this out. Because otherwise it won't come out. And so here now I'm actually removing these rubber gaskets from around this piece right here so that I can slide it out. So see, now I can get it out. I can always put it back on after I put it back on the other side. So now I have it where I need it now. So now my harness is out. So as I had to rotate the tab over this little notch, and remove these two O-rings to actually get to it. So now I'm going to put it on my other valve body, basically in reverse. Just put this piece right here. And like I said, this is the part that the transmission plugs into the wiring harness outside of the transmission. So I'll put that there and go from there. Also here I found this is the transmission temperature sensor. So, I mean the transmission fluid temperature sensor. So yeah, you don't want to accidentally forget that. Plugs right into here. So, yep, I'll put that in. And then once that's in, it'll be plugged into here. So as you can see now, I'm installing a new gasket. The paper, they made it out of paper. The other one was, I think, rubber, but I'm going to slide that over. And now we're push that over there like that. And it looks like we're pretty much ready to install it. So everything's going to basically go in reverse. And then I've got to get the torque specs for the bolts. And it should run right up in there. Alright, so now the valve body is in place, along with the new strainer or filter. I went on ahead and just replaced that since I was already in here. I wasn't sure when it had actually been replaced, so I went on ahead and replaced it. I think the bolts are like 9 Newton meters or 89 inch-pounds. You have to check with the manual to see exactly what it is. They may change it. And then I double checked and made sure that I put my manual valve in place into the shifter area. So now I'm going to work on connecting, if I can get an image of it, this connector here, which goes into the wiring harness outside. Connect that into the connector on the side of the transmission. So once that's done, I should be able to start putting the valve cover back on. It's like a bolt right here. Let's see if I can make it look. There's a bolt right there that I have to tighten up to get the wiring connector on back onto the side of the transmission, because that's what's actually controlling all these solenoids. So now I'm going to go ahead and bolt that back on. Now I'm tightening all the bolts. Supposed to be, well, I'm just running them up, and once I run them up, they're supposed to be tightened to, I believe, 11 foot-pounds. So the pan is in, just need to tighten it up. So now that the vehicle is back running again and pulled out, shifts just fine. Manual says to add 7.5 quarts of fluid. So I got my 7.5 quarts, and I'm just testing as I go along to see how much fluid it needs. But other than that, I'm going to take it for a test drive, and that's about it. Truck appears to be running just fine now. There's no light coming on the tow thing. The tow light's not coming on, so that's a good sign. Sounds like it's shifting just fine. I'm just looking for that tow haul light to come on, because that was kind of the problem. But it seems to be just fine. It shifts very well. I mean, we're at 50. trying to put a little bit of power on. Power is on. It's not doing anything unusual. Now I'm really putting the power on. Power off. No light. So far, so good. Coming to a stop. No jerking motions. Yeah, it looks like it's working just fine. And it shifts really smooth too. So far, so good. So it looks like the only problem that I'm having is a leak from one of my transmission hoses. Actually, not even leaking right now. So yeah, it looks like it's working pretty well. Okay, so basically it looks like apparently there was something going on with this valve body. I don't know exactly what it was. I don't know if maybe the solenoids, you know, had a little bit of clutch dust or something clogging them up. I don't know if maybe the filter, I don't know if maybe it was the filter that was the issue. Maybe the filter's, you know, not moving enough, you know, fluid. I don't know, this valve body from Sonnax fixed it. Apparently, I don't see any other codes. Let's see, incomplete ratio and gear friction. Oh no, let's see, incorrect gear ratio and friction apply time. So yeah, I don't know. You know, I figured I'd give it a shot, and so it seems like it is working. So now I will be sending this unit back. And also, too, another issue that I was having was when the truck is first started, when it's cold, it does seem to have an issue where it took a few seconds for it to go into drive, or if you put it in reverse, it takes a few seconds to go in reverse. Sometimes the torque converter will lock up and it'll act like it's going to stall the engine out because it's actually not allowing the engine to slip at idle, so it'll like lug the engine. You know, I don't know. They're saying that could be because of low fluid pressure. So that was fixed. The two codes are fixed. Trying to think what else was going on. I think there was a little bit of an issue sometimes when you drove it where it would kind of go into neutral on its own and then go back and drive. So I'll keep driving it and see if that fixes it. But apparently, you know, I don't know. Maybe it was just, I don't know. But yep, I'll be sending this back for the core. So anyway, I mean, it's worth a try. I mean, after the core charges and everything, you're looking at about $350 at least. From Rock Auto is where I got it from. So I think it's worth it versus just throwing a transmission in. I don't know how long the transmission will last like this. I mean, maybe the transmission will go another 100,000, maybe 50,000. I don't know, but at least it's on the road now. So, but yeah, I would at least try that before dumping a bunch of money in another transmission just to see what happens. So, yep, that's pretty much it for this item. I'm glad that they actually have a service like this, and hopefully truck will continue to run at like it's doing now for hopefully another few years. So, yep, that's it.